Today I got Jake Griffith from Louisiana, strong bow hunter, passionate, growing up in Louisiana. Jake, what's it like bow hunting in Louisiana?
Man, it's tough hunting, uh, but it makes it more rewarding whenever you do have success. Growing up, I grew up hunting. Mainly oak bottoms, a little bit of pines, stuff like that. Just hunting with my dad. It's definitely tough. I'll argue with anyone that there's not a tougher place in the United States to kill a good mature deer than the Southeast. Specifically Louisiana.
I 100% agree. I mean, we always get we'll have one or two that might be a 160, but it's not often, and usually they win the big buck contest if that's the case.
Yeah, for sure.
So you said you started hunting with your dad. Is that how you got started hunting?
Yeah, I got started with my dad. A lot of people don't know, but I have a twin brother, and we're fraternal. So it was always me, him, and my dad. Growing up, my dad got started. My grandfather hunted a little, but mainly my dad. Me, my dad, and my brother, just a way for us to spend time together, and in the woods and fishing and stuff like that. So yeah, my dad and got me started in the outdoors.
Did y'all start bow hunting, or y'all went from squirrels, or what was your first interaction outdoors?
Man, we always hunted deer. I never really, I never squirrel hunted a whole lot. It was just not, anything that really piqued my interest. We would go a little bit, as a kid, just learning how to walk through the woods quietly and stuff like that. More about the experience, not so much, targeting, the squirrels. But far as deer hunting from the start, I never really bow hunted a lot. My dad bow hunted. I remember, as a kid. He shot his first bow that I remember getting was a high country when I was 8 9 years old, and so my dad bow hunted quite a bit. But as a kid, me getting started, I didn't do a lot of bow hunting, mainly rifle hunting.
So what was your first bow?
So my first bow was a Bowtech, and I bought it back in around 2009 or 10, something like that. I bought it from a buddy of mine that, had a bow and was wanting to get rid of it. And I bought it from him, started messing with it a little bit. It wasn't, my draw length or my draw weight when I originally bought it, but got to shooting it a little bit and got it adjusted. And, that was kind of where it started for me. But then, I never really took it real serious. I know but there's a lot of people that don't. I rodeoed a bunch. Team rope with my dad, and that was kind of what, my main priority. I always liked to hunt and fish also, but rodeoing was one of my, earliest passions. So I didn't really, spend a lot of time bow hunting, early because it's hot in Louisiana, mosquitoes, stuff like that. So it really wasn't till around 2017 that I really got bit with the archery hunting bug pretty bad. Like I said, as a teenager into my early 20s, I bow hunted a little, but I didn't take it real serious.
So backing up to your rodeo days, tell me some of your accomplishments, because like I said, a lot of people probably don't know that you were a rodeo circuit goer, and you're a pretty good cowboy.
Yeah, man. I had quite a few accomplishments. I never rodeoed real hard. And tried to make the national finals in Vegas, but I did compete in Vegas twice at the World Series of Team Roping finale in 2011, and then again in 2015. I would say my you know my most I guess you would say decorated accomplishments was in 2011. I went to a team roping in Guthrie, Oklahoma. It was a World Series of team roping, what they called the Heartland Finale, and you could enter that particular roping just twice. And I ended up winning first and second in that roping with the two guys that I roped with team roped, and I won first with my dad and second with another gentleman. And at the end of the day, it totaled up $35,000, two saddles, and a buckle for that one day. So I would say that's probably the accomplishment that I'm most proud of.
And probably the one with your dad is more enjoyable to you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he was the one that got me started, roping as well as hunting and fishing. And still to this day, my dad's my best friend. I talk to him every day, sometimes a couple times a day. And so it really meant a lot to me to get that win with my dad for sure.
And you see that missing in today's world as far as teaching, the your next generation, simple basic hunting and survival skills, right? I mean, not a lot of people grow up with their dad, or they all, a lot of people come from broken homes, and uh, most of them don't ever find the outdoors. And I think that's very important. Us as dads, which you have a newborn, to teach this next generation everything we know and hope they're better than we are. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I think that if you don't pass it down, eventually, the road stops, and we have to get our children involved, whether it be boys or girls. We have to get our children involved in the outdoors, as well as if hunting and fishing aren't your thing, just find something that they enjoy. I see a lot of parents that I've known my life, throughout my life, and that whether it be hunting or fishing or rodeo or any kind of sports, there's been times where I've seen them want it more than the kids wanted it, and all it did was create some kind of wedge or resentment or however you choose to word it between the kid and the parent. And as I had, like you just mentioned, I have a son now, and that's one thing that I strive to do when I'm raising my son is, hopefully he wants to hunt and fish because that's what I enjoy to do. But if that's not his thing, whatever he decides is his thing, I'll support him 100%.
I couldn't agree more. My son, he's 9. He's a pretty good baseball player, but this year, with us moving back to Louisiana from South Texas, he chose to skip out on this year, and I wasn't mad about it. I really could care less as long as he's being active somewhere. Right, that's the main thing. Just be active. But he was an All Star last year, and he got on the travel ball team. We ended up moving back to Louisiana, and if he don't want to play it, he doesn't have to play it.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, and like you just mentioned, like I mentioned, it doesn't matter to me what it is. I don't, and I'm gonna, reiterate that to my son as he grows is. I don't care what you do, just because I hunt and fish, hopefully that's something that he enjoys doing, because we could do it together. But, I don't care what he does. I just want him to find something that he's passionate in, and just do something. I see too many kids that spend a lot of time, inside on the iPad or computer or PlayStation or whatever the case may be. And I get it. I mean, that's part of the world we live in today, but there's not enough kids outside, playing basketball or throwing the football or whatever. There's just not enough of that going on in the world today, in my opinion.
100%. It all has a place for it, but uh, just this past weekend, all we did was we made one loop around the property, just walking, as far as a family, and just to watch those kids just be natural in the woods. If more parents or kids in general would just go out to the woods and just even if they just sat down, um, I think they would see life through a different lens and learn to enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, and there's a lot of kids that haven't uh, haven't seen enough sunrise in their life or something like that, and you can't find that view inside, I guess is the best way I could put it. There's nothing like a sunrise or a sunset out in God's creation.
Oh, and for sure. I mean, those sunrises, sunsets, 20 foot in a tree with your bow right beside you. It's hard to beat that right there.
Man, there's nothing. I tell people this all the time. There's nothing like, in my opinion, nothing like a sunrise in the Midwest on a cold November morning. That's what I think about all year.
If I could get everybody to just experience it one time, I think the world would be a better place.
Couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more.
So let's get into your bow. your bow a little bit. What do you shoot today? You said you shot a Bowtech, your first one. I know you went through some Matthews. What bow
Yeah,
do you shoot today?
man. So I have two. I have a PSE carbon levitate, and I have a Darton Consequence two. One carbon bow, one aluminum bow. The PSE is what I've been shooting for the last few years. I picked up a Darton last year through the Shot 3D course in Muddy Bottoms in Sarepta. Last year they had a little novelty shoot over there, and ended up winning the novelty shoot, and the prize was a dart and bow. And man, I really like that bow. I really haven't shot it much. I would say I probably got less than 100 arrows through it. But a super good bow. Holds good. I'm actually probably going to be looking at getting the new bow that they just come out with this year. I'm probably going to get rid of the PSE. No knock on PSE. I've killed a lot of deer with it. I've sent you pictures and stuff. Super good bow, but I'm just a big fan of the new tuning capabilities that Darton has come out with for this year's bow. And I'm going to be looking at probably picking one of them up probably before season.
Now that's the bow that comes in the quarter length, right?
Yes, that's correct. It comes in a quarter length, draw length adjustments, as well as it has an adjustable cable guard. Um, Also a little, I don't know what you would call it, but like a little turnbuckle style deal up towards the limbs where the split yokes are that you can adjust. I mean, it's got three or four different ways to try to tune the bow. And uh, once you get a peep sight in it, you don't have to have a bow press to do any kind of tuning. So, not that I'm a giant tuner. I've got a buddy of mine that owns a bow shop that does my work for me. But I just like the idea of being able to tune that if I need to.
So I know we talked about it a little bit on Friday and about that bow, and we want to save most of it for the podcast. But as soon as we got off the phone, I drove home and I was listening to the Elk Shape podcast. Shout out to Dan, the fitness man, and they were literally talking about that same bow, and I was like, my phone is listening to me way too much.
Yeah, yeah, man, and there's also a podcast that the guy that owns Darton had with I forget the gentleman's name, but it's the FMJJ podcast with Podium Archer, and I listened to it in entirety probably about a week ago, and just the message that the guy he's real solid in his faith, and he came for nothing and had an opportunity to buy the company, and it's blown up into selling more bows than they can make. And I'm a fan of good equipment, but I'm also a fan of good people. And I don't personally know the man, but everything he said on the podcast really wanted me to go buy another Darton.
Yeah, the after me and you talked about it, and then listening to that podcast, I was like, maybe I need to go to the bow shop and just see what they're all about.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, the one I have doesn't have that, all that tuning capability that's new for 2026. But it's the bow that I have now is a super good bow, and I know that the bow this year would be even better. I haven't personally shot it yet, but I'm definitely going to make it a point to shoot it for sure.
Will you be carrying over the broadheads you're using with that PSE? What broadheads are you using?
So I've I always me and you've been buddies for a long time. I like tinkering with stuff. I've shot the last couple of years. I shot Severs, but this past year I switched to a Beast, and I shot a buck with it in Texas, as well as a couple pigs on my lease in Oklahoma. And man, I couldn't be more impressed with that head. Like I say, I still keep some Severs in my quiver. I've got a couple of hybrid, the 1.75 titanium hybrids from Sever, but man, I picked up brought some of those beasts from the gentleman I spoke about earlier that owns a bow shop, and man, I was really impressed with that head.
So they're nothing like that sawzall blade that I was shooting in Kentucky that time.
No, man, they wouldn't like that sawzall blade, that's for sure.
Even though that deer had zero blood with the biggest broadhead that I've ever shot.
Hey, we found her though.
That is true. So Jake, how many states have you hunted in your bow hunting career?
Man, so I have hunted 7 states for whitetail, and add one more to that for turkeys. I've hunted Illinois and Kentucky, Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Mississippi for deer, and then add Florida to that for turkeys. So hunted a total of 7 states for deer and one more for turkey.
So were you able to get the Osceola?
I wasn't, man. I went. A buddy of mine owned some land down there, and me and a friend of mine from that lives over St. Francisville went over there, and I didn't, man. We saw a bunch of hens when we were there. The birds really just weren't gobbling. That's been several years ago that I tried that, but I enjoyed it. I had a good time. South Florida is a whole different part of the country compared to what I'm used to. I enjoyed my trip, but I wasn't able to get an Osceola.
So we'll both agree that Louisiana probably is the hardest place to kill turkeys. Have you killed turkeys out of state?
Man, I haven't. But then again, I haven't really hunted turkeys a whole lot. I've went a little bit. But most time during turkey season, is the busy time of year for our line of work. So I really haven't. I like to try to take my days off for the fall during the rut. So I've turkey hunted a little bit, but not. I really haven't. I guess I never really got bit by the turkey bug real hard. If I'm off work, I make it a point to go, but I don't schedule, my work and all that around the turkey hunting.
That's the bad about our line of work. We're not really weekend warriors. We're just whenever we're off, we can hunt.
Exactly. Yep.
So you said you hunted in Kansas. I know you got a Kansas buck. I know you got an Illinois buck. I know for sure you got a Texas buck. What buck was the biggest? Was it the Kansas buck?
No, so actually it was that was my second biggest. It was my biggest at the time, but I killed a really good deer or I say really good deer, for me with a bow in northeast Texas last year on some land that my wife's family has. Um and that was the biggest buck that I've killed was actually killed the 2025-2026 season.
Tell me about that. Was it cold that morning or?
Man, so to be honest with you, it wasn't, and I almost didn't even go hunting. So this will be kind of a long-winded story, but in order for it to appreciate everything, I got to go through all the details. So we were, as you mentioned, I have a newborn. Well, I say a newborn; he's 10 months old now, and I'd had nobody had hunted on this place, so this place belonged to my wife's dad, which passed away, and I believe it's 2021, and so no one had hunted back there in the last several years, and so I've been telling my wife for the last few years that I wanted to go hunt back there and just never had. So I made it a point this past year to this past summer to go put a feeder out and hang a couple cameras, and so I hung a camera and hadn't really seen anything that I really just got my blood pressure up, and my wife was my little boy had woke up about midnight wanting a bottle. Um, around October 20th, 21st, something like that, and while she was feeding him, I checked my Wise Eye camera app, and I had a picture of the buck I killed standing there under the feeder. Not sure where he come from. Camera's been out all summer. I don't know if he followed a doe in there or whatever the case may be. Well, I was already leaving the next morning to go meet with the landowner for our place in Oklahoma and pay him our lease due. So that put me not being able to hunt the deer, for the couple days after that. So I went and dropped the check off. Well, naturally, the morning I was up there at 7:30, the deer standing under my feeder, just looking at the camera, turning his head back and forth, and so I'm like, well, there was my opportunity. I mean, most
Yeah.
time those deer like that, you get one chance, and so that particular day, my battery went dead on my camera, so I was like, great. Well, I was already the next week was the week of Halloween. So we was already planning on going up that way. We was going to take my little boy to see my wife's family, in his little costume or whatever. And so I told my wife that Sunday, I said, I'm going to leave tomorrow and go up and hunt for a couple days before you get up here on Friday. She's like, okay, her mom lives right there not far. And so I drove over there that Monday morning and went over there, put some corn in my feeder, put some batteries in my camera, and I wasn't even going to hunt. There was a cold front coming, or I say cold front for Northeast Texas in October is a cool front. It was, about 65 that day, but the next morning it was going to be like 35. Pretty strong north wind, and so I told my wife, I said, this was Monday. I said, I'm not even going to hunt this evening. I'm just going to wait till in the morning, and hunt. But up to this point, this is October 28th. And you know me, usually I'm in a tree October 28th. I hadn't made a sit. I'd been working a bunch. And, when I wasn't working, I was hanging out with the family. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go try it. So I went and got in the stand that Monday evening and about 4 o'clock and hadn't seen a deer. Wind was blowing super hard, more like a Kansas wind, probably blowing 30 plus. And I was like, this probably never going to work. And hadn't seen a deer. About 6:30, a doe and a yearling come busting out of the bottom behind where I was sitting and come up to the feeder. And I could see another deer back behind them, but I couldn't see what it was. And sure enough, it was that buck. He come right in, and I shot him at like 21 yards. First set, about 3 hours into my first set of the year.
And we've been saying it for years. All we want is top pin alley.
Top pin alley. If you got the whole housing on them, it's hard to miss.
That, well, don't say that. There's some people that we both know that will miss. But
Oh
don't say
yeah,
that.
ain't no doubt, ain't no
But we're
doubt.
not
But it's
gonna.
sure,
Yeah, we're not gonna name drop. Not
yeah,
on this
but
one. We might
yeah,
do
but
a.
it
We might
sure
do
makes
a.
it sure
Yeah.
makes it easier though. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, man. So that would be my biggest deer to date, and it was just super special, man. With like I said, with it being on my wife's, my father in law's place, and nobody's hunted since he passed. It was super special. The deer's at the taxidermist right now, and I can't wait to get him home and hang him up. That was one of the things me and my wife talked about is just aside from it being my biggest deer, just the what it means, behind the deer. I told her if I got him killed that we would mount him. So he's at the taxidermist, and I can't wait to get him back.
How special is that for her, being that you're the husband, and it's on her family's land right after he passes. What did that mean to her?
It was super special, man, for everybody involved. It really was, and her stepmom, she still lives on the place there, and so when I brought the deer out, got him loaded, and brought him out, there was tears shed for sure from for everybody that was there. So it was super special, man. It's a hunt. I may kill, a 160, but that'll always be my favorite hunt. Getting that deer killed for sure.
I mean, even though it's on family land, it's still an out of state hunt. And when you go to pay that extra fees and those all that, I mean, it is a little bit more special when you kill one out of state compared to your land back at the house.
Yeah, for sure. And it's I know there's some places in Texas, that have really big deer, South Texas and the Golden Triangle and stuff like that. But to kill a deer like that, I mean, I'm not real big on score, I mean, I like to kill big deer, or I say big deer, I like to kill big deer to me. Some people let them deer pass, but the deer was just a little shy of 140 inches for a Northeast Texas deer. So I was really proud of that deer. Like you say, it's out of state, but it's not really an area that's known for big deer, and to kill one like that with a bow was pretty special. And then you add in everything else that I just talked about. It was definitely an afternoon I'll remember forever.
I couldn't agree more. In Kentucky, 20. I've never been a big bow hunter. I didn't start shooting a bow until 2020 COVID year. The year before, me and you went up there and worked and hunted. But when I let that arrow fly, and I probably killed a. It was probably 105 if I was lucky on that 8 point. But just it's all about the person, right? It's not necessarily you don't have to kill a 160 for it to be a not necessarily a monster, but to be a treasure, right? Uh, because that right there set me up for life as far as a bow hunter. If I
Yeah,
didn't, if I went over there and didn't kill that, like I said, it's probably 105 is the last day that we could actually hunt because of the time change. Uh, if I didn't get that deer, I might not be a bow hunter.
yeah, for sure, man. And I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm, you know, uh, sometimes it don't aggravate me, because where we live, and there's a lot of people that shoot stuff that we might look at and be like, man, I can't believe you shot that. But then I have to remind myself that, maybe that's that person's first buck, or maybe that's first deer that person's seen all year. And so, I'm guilty of it myself, of seeing stuff like that on Facebook and like, man, I wish he wouldn't have shot that deer. But, I just have to remind myself. And far as the out of state hunts, I mean, it is a lot of money to go to Kansas or to go to Illinois, and the trophy is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, sometimes 115 inches a trophy, and then there's some guys that don't even pick their bow up off the hanger unless it's a 150. And you just, whenever you go to a out of state hunt, especially on public, like we do, it's you just got to have in your mind what you're looking for, and if you're happy with a 130, then shoot him, and if you're not, then wait on the one that does make you happy. But you know a rule of thumb I live by, and it's been this way every deer I've shot out of state, that if I see the deer and I immediately reach for my bow, then that's the one I'm going to shoot. If
I,
if I have to look at him, and maybe he ain't big enough, then I don't shoot. But if I see a deer and immediately grab my bow, then that's the deer I'm trying to put my tag on.
100%. If that deer gets that little extra flicker in your heart and in your body, and that's the one you want. I mean, me and you both. I mean, you go out there sometimes. What we used to say. We wake up and choose violence.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Wake up and choose violence for sure.
uh, if that first doe makes my heart flicker, she's going down.
Yeah,
And to go back to what you were talking about, I think it was year before last, which I told on last episode that this year is the first year I did not kill a whitetail since 2018, and it's the first time I didn't kill one with my bow since 2020. But last year, it came down to the last hunt of the season, and I could. It was. I'm gonna say it's 3 minutes before shooting light. Before shooting light ends, and I let that arrow fly, and that deer probably was not even 80 pounds. I mean,
really.
it was not a big deer, but that was the only deer I got to shoot that year.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I was just excited as if I would have killed a 140 because
Oh
I
yeah,
because in my mind I'm like, man, I don't have no more deer meat left, and I'm sure when I drug it out there and I took my son, and because he goes on every track that he's able to, I'm sure they thought he shot it,
yeah,
but it is what it is, and if the trophy is in the eye of the shooter, and I can get behind that. Like same as you said, I used to get mad about it. People shooting 4 points and 3 points and all that. If that's what you need or that's what you want to do, it's your given right. That is your right to hunt that and harvest that deer.
yeah, for sure. And like I said, I mean, I'm guilty of sometimes on Facebook, getting on there and seeing somebody that killed a really good, 3-year-old or something like that, and thinking, man, that deer would have been really good. But then, that deer could have been 5 miles away the next year, and I mean, you just never know, and so as I get older, I try to keep in mind that, and we know it as good as anyone that, some people just are on limited time frames to hunt, and not everybody can hunt every day or every weekend. And, you just got to make the most of it while you're out there.
And we're not gonna get stuck on it too much, but I'll share a little quick story. In 21, whenever we were hunting in Kentucky and we went home that week, I had bought my grandpa a crossbow for Christmas because
Hmm.
he's getting a little older and he wanted to get back into whitetail. And yes, he can shoot a rifle, but it allows him to hunt longer, right?
Yeah.
He's not able to walk his 3 miles to his duck hole like he used to. and that crossbow allows him to actually keep hunting a little longer in the season when better opportunities and stuff like that happens. First year, I think he ended up killing a spike, and I think, and he's got an 8 point on the wall, and it's big, but I think that spike might have been right up there with that 8 point as far as his enjoyment and what it meant to him.
Yeah, it brings the it brings the joy back, and and I think that's great. I mean, like you said, I'm not going to harp on it. I think there is a place, in the world for crossbows. A lot of people don't agree with the input that I have to say, so I just keep it to myself. I do believe there's a time and a place for crossbows. Uh, but I don't think anybody that can walk in and get one from the Walmart should be able to hunt during archery season. But that's all I'm gonna say about that.
I believe the listeners are going to be able to hear your smile.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, again, that's definitely a different topic. Most states have gone against that. You don't just get to go out and shoot a crossbow through archery season. Kentucky's
Yeah,
one of them. I think it's either a week or two that you get, but it's not during archery season. I think it's actually right before, right after muzzleloader. It's not actual archery season.
yeah, and I think that would be great. And I hope in the future that maybe hopefully Louisiana looks at that. And maybe even some of the other states that I hunt. Like I say, I'm not 100% against crossbows at all. I think that it's gotten more people outdoors and such as that, but I think there's a time and place for it, and I in my personal opinion, which don't amount to much, I wish it was some other time other than archery.
So speaking of Louisiana, since you brought it up, what do you think Louisiana and the state as a whole, wildlife fisheries as a whole, and we're not bashing wildlife fisheries. They do a good job overall. What can we see on these public lands in Louisiana? Because it just feels like when Louisiana has the money. We're the biggest, one of the biggest oil and gas refinery down the coast. We have state funding. We go to these out of state places, even the ones that don't have state tax, and it just seems like they're manicured a little better. What could we do as Louisiana to help these refuges?
Man, I think that I know there's some of them that I think that you know in the fall, or I guess winter, whenever it finally gets cold in Louisiana, there's not a lot of things for those deer to eat. Not just deer, hogs or turkeys or whatever the case may be. And I would like to see more food planted. Whether it be planted or however you choose to look at it. Ryegrass or wheat or whatever. Because there's places which I know that the some places in the Midwest is a little different in the sense that they actually belong to landowners, and the landowners lease it to the state. So it's kind of at the discretion of the landowner what gets planted there. But I would like to see more food on on some of these places that are really big, that has the opportunity to still have plenty of hunting land, but I would like to see some of it set aside for food. Maybe some areas where you can't hunt, because I believe that if you planted that stuff, it would be overrun with people trying to hunt it. And then you run into safety issues and stuff like that. Um, but I personally, I would like to see. Now, I don't know if you could do that on all of them, on some of the smaller pieces, but I know there's several I can think of off the top of my head that would benefit from some kind of food being grown there in the winter months.
Do you think that, and we never want to take away a hunter's rights? I want to make that clear. I'm not big on regulation, but as far as quality of deer, do you think that's kind of how Kansas got its name? I know the soil and the food and all that, but going to a one buck state, do you think that would have any benefit?
Oh, I think it would absolutely have a benefit. But I think another thing, and and again, this isn't directed towards anyone. I think that you should be able to shoot whatever you want to shoot. But I think we're, as a whole in the state of Louisiana, we're hung up in the if it's brown, if it's down age, and again, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier. It's your when you purchase your license. It's your God given right to kill whatever you want. But I think the mentality of as a whole, and that's not everyone, but mentality as a whole in the state is still hung up back in the 1950s and 60s and 70s, where them people, kill deer and turkeys and all such as that to survive. And don't get me wrong, I eat a lot of venison just as much as anyone. Uh, but I don't believe that unless you have a really big family, I don't know anybody that eats 5 or 6 deer a year. But there continuously every year is people that just keeps tagging out just in the name of tagging out. If you eat that many deer, then I'm happy for you, get them. But I personally know several people that kill that many deer and end up giving half of them away. And I'm not a big fan of that. Eat, kill what you can eat, what you need for your family, but don't kill just in the sake of killing.
I can totally agree about that. So how more rewarding it is to kill a deer with a bow compared to other types of hunting, whether it be uh, shotgun, rifle. Um, how walk me through your process whenever you're shooting a rifle compared to when you're shooting a bow? Because I know there's a lot of different setups. You got to have your wind right. It's not like you're just sitting in a box stand waiting for him to come out at 300 yards. What kind of mindset do you have to be a bow hunter?
Man, I feel like you have to pay attention to everything. A big thing that I think people overlook, and I'm not gonna act like I'm a Michael Waddell or anybody like that, but I think something that people overlook too much is access. You can have the wind as right as you want to have it, and the thermals and all such as that, but if the deer see you walk in, and all that's for nothing. I think that access is a big thing that people don't really pay enough attention to. And as far as the feeling, I've killed deer with rifles and shotguns with buckshot and bows, and to me, it's really no comparison. You know, I, if I can go out there and shoot a doe with my rifle every day and not get nervous or anything like that, but if whether I'm shooting a hog or a doe or even a coat, uh, man, as soon as I get my bow off the hanger, my heart rate immediately cranks up.
No matter
There's
what it is.
yeah, there's just no comparison in my opinion, and I'm not gonna say that killing deer with a rifle isn't a challenge. I mean, I'm sure it presents its own particular challenges. But to me, there's nothing more rewarding than sneaking in there on a good buck or even a doe, and being less than 20 yards from them and them not even know you exist.
You actually have to become a predator. I mean, yes, there's pre setups, right, and people, you can hunt over corn all you want, and all that, but you still have to not have a presence in the woods. You have to actually become stealthy because if that doe walks in, and I've had before the black bears, before, and we'll get on to that here in a little bit, but I've had deer even hunting over a corn pile, rice bran, whatever you want to call it, come in and not even think twice about anything down in that bottom or wherever I'm hunting. Uh, but I've also had times to where she already knows something's down there, and I think it has a lot to do with the wind, your thermals, but I think there's some kind of energy that they can pick up on too. And that might just be the thermals, right? But it just seems like they're more aware sometimes than others, and I think that's where you really have to become the predator in the woods.
For sure. I think that I'll argue with anyone that I believe a mature doe is harder to kill than a mature buck. They have, the I guess the motherhood instinct or however you want to word it, that they know when something's not right. And as far as the corn, yeah, I mean you can set over a corn pile, but that corn pile don't mean nothing if it's where the deer aren't. I mean, you still got you corn pile's got to be where the deer are, and I think that you just have to, when bow hunting, you just have to pay attention to everything, and I think the chase is what makes it fun for me. I mean, obviously, I like releasing an arrow, just as much as anybody, but just getting in there, in tight to whether, like say, whether it be does or bucks or even pigs for that matter, and them knowing, not even knowing you exist is that really does it for me.
100%. And also, them does aren't blinded by the the season, right? The
Yeah,
rut happens, and those bucks get kind of a little crazy, but not them does. Them does are now they might run underneath you and not pay attention, but as far as them just walking around, they always know what's going on.
yeah, for sure. Especially if they've got little ones, or it's if it's a big doe group that's got 4 or 5 does. It's hard enough to kill one just with one doe being there. It's another thing when you're trying to outsmart 6 noses and 12 eyes. It gets pretty difficult.
So with 2025, the hunting season's over. Give me a recap of what that looked like for you.
Man, the buck I talked about earlier. That would I would say that was definitely the highlight. I killed a couple pigs. Me and a couple buddies from Lake Charles picked up a lease in Oklahoma and killed a couple pigs up there. Um, I got to hunt a good bit. I won't say that I didn't hunt at all, but this was probably the least I've hunted in the last couple of years due to having, a young child now and working on the road. I tried to stay kind of close to the house, when I wasn't working. I have a lease that's probably 15 minutes from my house, and I hunted out there some. Like I say, I still got to hunt, but I would say this was the least amount that I've hunted the last couple of years. And then the first week of 2026, I've got a friend of mine that owns a outfitter business in southern Kansas for waterfowl. And so me and my dad and little brother, we take a trip up there every year to go hunt with him. And so we went duck hunting the first week of January 2026, and that kind of wrapped up my hunting season. But yeah, man, just killed that good buck, which was the highlight of the year for sure, other than my son being born, and then killed a couple pigs and killed some ducks.
What's that outfitter business? In case anybody wants to look them up.
It's gonna be Grindstone Outfitters, owned by Wesley Johnson.
And what city are they based out of? You don't have to give up locations where they're hunting at, just where they can find them.
It's gonna be southern Kansas. They have some ground in southern Kansas. They have some ground all over. Well, I'd say pretty much all over Kansas and Oklahoma, not one particular area. But if you just search Grindstone Outfitters, you can find their website, and they've got a website there. They got a Facebook page, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. But man, they run a top notch business up there for sure. Those guys, man. Wesley owns it, but he's got some really solid guys that work for him. And man, I enjoy going up there every year. They have a really nice lodge, and they really put in the work to get their clients on ducks.
I've never duck hunted Kansas, but every time you go, I get a picture of those greenheads.
Oh yeah, yeah, man. It's a good time, and like I say, those guys, man, they've got good dogs, and they really put in the work, man. I mean, their day starts at 4:30 in the morning, and guiding hunters, and then as soon as the trip's over for that morning, they're on the road scouting. They got a bunch of ground, and man, those guys. Wesley runs a top notch outfit up there, but it don't work without the guides, and he's got some of the best in the business, in my opinion.
Yeah, usually I'm sending you about that time, unless we get a cold front. I'm sending you ringnecks and teal, and you're sending me mallards. So I'm definitely jealous on that. Um, so look, to go back to your son, in the future, he's still young. You still got probably 5 6 years of before he even thinks about shooting, right? But what does that look like? You gonna start maybe box stand hunting a little bit, or are you just gonna kind of let it flow naturally, or?
Man, I'm gonna kind of give him the option to do whatever he like to do. I mean, maybe I'm ahead of the curve a little bit, but I already have him a gun set up. I've got a 350 Legend set up on the AR platform that's got a scope. I've shot it a little bit, and so that'll probably be the thing we take hunting first. And that'll be a couple years down the road. But I hope to. I hope to maybe get in on some box stand hunting, maybe get him to kill a couple pigs or some does or something, whenever he gets ready. And if he wants to bow hunt, I'll make sure he's got everything he needs to bow hunt. And who knows, man, he might not want to do any of it. He might want to rodeo or play ball or whatever the case may be. And whatever he is, I'll fully support him 100%. But I hope that he wants to hunt and fish. It's something we can do together. But yeah, I would like to get him in on some box stand hunting in a couple of years.
With working with you and getting to know you, pretty good. I consider you a good friend. Knowing your brothers as far as either through social media or just you talking, I don't think he really has a choice on being outside in general because you got a little brother that's a big brother now that he's a pretty good baseball player.
Yeah, he is, man. Yeah, he's I joke he's my younger brother, but he's definitely not my little brother anymore. He's 16. He's a junior at Pineville High School, and he's over 6 foot, and pitches for the baseball team. And yeah, he's a really good athlete. Plays baseball and pitches and stuff like that. So yeah, I would like to think that he really has no choice but to want to be outside. But you never know, man. We'll just have to play it by ear, I guess.
If he grows any more, I'll probably be calling him sir.
Yeah, that's yeah, I look up to him, and it's weird to be, there's almost 20 years between me and him, and it's weird for I went to his ball game Friday actually on my way home from work, and it's weird to look up to somebody that's 20 years younger than you, but it's just part of it, I guess.
But knowing you and knowing listening to you and your family and all that, seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. So I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, I believe so.
2026 turkey season is just around the corner. First Light has a turkey vest that is top of the line. The Tree Line Turkey Vest provides unmatched functionality, comfort, and durability for serious turkey hunters. Its lightweight, modular design offers exceptional versatility, adapting seamlessly to any hunting style. With ample storage and specialized pockets, it ensures all your gear stays secure, organized, and easily accessible. Whether you're navigating steep western terrain or stalking gobblers through dense hardwoods, the Treeline Turkey Vest is designed to keep you fully equipped for success. Visit firstlight.com to order yours and be ready at the moment of truth.